Well, I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble for making this video. I hope not. And if I ramble too much, I apologize. I've had a lot of thoughts in my head today about this issue. I watched probably about an hour worth of different videos on TikTok and on YouTube to do a little research on this. The common theme that I kept hearing was just the amazing amount of control and influence that Zionists have throughout a lot of places, not only in the United States, but throughout the world. It's really startling to learn. I checked online, and I think the total global population of Jewish people is around 16.5 million. And there's 8 billion people on the planet. And the inordinate amount of power, influence, and wealth that a lot of Jewish people have in society. And you all know me from listening to me. I have zero animus in my heart towards anybody. I take everybody as they are. I've been an Uber driver for a while, part-time, and I have all sorts of different people that get in the car, and I enjoy conversations with most or all of them. And I always think back to what Martin Luther King said. He looked forward to the day when his kids and the kids of former slave owners could sit down at the table, and that they would be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I would add to that one's ethnicity or their religion. So fair is fair. But the more that I've heard about the people that make up the Israeli government and some of the things they've been saying about Palestinians and Arabs, it almost seems like there's this Jewish supremacy mindset. And I'm against any sort of supremacy, whether it's white supremacy, black supremacy, Jewish supremacy. All that is just garbage, in my opinion. It means you think you're better than someone else, which is silly if you think about it. Pretty much all the same for the most part. Anyway, what the Israeli military is now doing, and I really think, looking back on this, I said this in one of my other videos, but now I really believe it's true. I believe this attack from Hamas, the fact that Hamas is a construct of the Israeli government, this attack was allowed to happen to provide justification for what the Israeli military and government is now doing. I think, and I can't prove this, I have no evidence to substantiate it, but my best guess is that there was a detailed plan in place to encroach on Gaza. I think there were some frustrations, and a lot of the hardliners had a plan, and it may be a lot bigger than just this first military operation. And I'll share a couple thoughts on that quickly, but I don't know for sure, but it seems awfully like, if you look at the actions of what's taken place, it looks like this has been a planned destruction and land grab, trying to push at least half, if not more, of the population of Gaza from the north end towards the south. And there's even an effort to push people into the Sinai, which is to the south of Gaza. Even though the Rafah border crossing to Egypt is closed, I've heard people from Israel, ministers in the government, on video talk about this. They think that the people of Gaza should go down to the desert, which is absolutely nuts. Things are getting pretty dire too in Gaza, so this whole thing is just beyond unthinkably ugly. And if that is the plan, to forcibly push and kill Palestinians off at least half of Gaza, I think the world should take some action. I don't think this should be allowed to stand. The good news coming out of this, if anything, is that the world is seeing the real ugly underside of the Israeli government and the Zionist movement. Whether or not they get protection and cover from the US, and whether there's no ability to change the circumstances, that's yet to be seen. The one other thing I mentioned briefly earlier, this may be part of a much bigger plan to draw a much larger conflict. Let me tell you why I think that's the case. If you look at where the United States is right now, empires go through usually between a 200 and 300 year cycle. There's a guy named Ray Dalio who talks a lot about this. And having watched his work and having looked at prior empires like the French and the British and the Ottoman, all these different empires, they go through cycles. And we have sort of come into what's called the late stage cycle of empire. And what usually happens in the later stage is countries accumulate a lot of debt. They end up printing a lot of money. They overextend themselves militarily. Their people at home start to get neglected. They have all these different social changes. I guess you can refer to that generally as woke. And it's amazing how similar it is. It's like, how can this process keep repeating itself over and over again? But that's the way it goes. So the fact that the US is in late stage empire, the other thing that happens is they go to war. because they realize they can't sustain the extension of their economy and their military without trying to take from others and conquer others. So I believe this is possibly part of a bigger plan to engage first regionally in the Middle East, and because they enticed Russia and Ukraine into combat, eventually between Russia, China, and its alliance against the United States and NATO and its alliance. I sure hope I'm wrong about that, but that's what I really think is coming. Let's hope I'm wrong. We'll see.